What's up, everybody? This is Kyren Williams for the Los Angeles Rams running back, and I'm tuned in with the Fantasy Football Counselor.
Welcome to the show, guys. Massive episode today. We are talking top 10 fantasy football running backs. I've got the list here that's going to help you guys win your leagues, and this show would not be complete without actually having one of the NFL running backs on this show. Kyren Williams is on this show, and man, oh man, super nice guy, lion mentality. I'm super excited to have him. You guys are going to enjoy the conversation. I interview him here on this show, on this actual top 10 episode. Guys, listen, this is my favorite episode every single year, and it's just gotten so much better actually having a top 10 running back actually on this show. So Kyren is here today, going to be sharing that interview. So if you are new, guys, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up. The only channel delivering on the high level, giving you actual truth, right? Real advice is actually going to help you win, not the copy and paste cookie cutter rankings. We're thinking outside the box. There's going to be a lot of practical advice here in this video when we're talking about these running backs, so you guys can start doing some logical thinking other than copy and paste. Well, last year, for example, right? Tony Pollard, I said, listen, he's not a good running back. He was always a backup. So don't draft him as a top 10 pick. Sure enough, he busted. Austin Eckler, he was due for a decline. So you got to start thinking logically. I'm going to explain everything here in this video. We're talking top 10 running backs, massive episode. Kyren Williams here. I'm ready to rock. Fantasy football is back. Let's get to this list right now. All right, guys, top 10 running backs. If you haven't gotten 16-round draft solution, get it below, guys. Secure the solution, secure the championship. What's going to happen, guys? As soon as you get the solution, you're going to get an email. You're going to get a login, and you're going to have access to a printable cheat sheet, updated mock drafts. I do a mock draft in June, July, and August. You're going to have all the optimal players drafted each round. Everything you guys need to smash your leagues. Grab 16 rounds below. And when you check out, grab a ticket to the summit so you can come hang out with me, Kyren Williams, Trey Benson, Rashid Shaheed, Tajay Spears, Frank Gore Jr., Pat Fryermuth. Guys, it's going to be exciting. This Fantasy Sports Summit, August 21st. Secure your ticket to the summit. Secure your ticket to 16 rounds. Grab it below. Combo is the best deal below. Amazing deal. I priced it so that everybody gets in, okay? And again, if you guys don't know, Kyren Williams is on the show today. It's going to be exciting as I go through these top 10 running backs. Now, I want to do a disclaimer here. Again, it's important you don't skip past anything because there's a lot of insight, a lot of advice, and a lot of little golden nuggets you're going to get just from listening to all of this talk here, because there's a lot of stuff you need to be aware of. Now, the disclaimer is very simple, okay? There's a lot of guys that the consensus consumers have in the top 10 or even top 12 or 15 that I'm going to be fading. Example, Rachaad White. Listen, Rachaad White is super safe, but very boring, 3.6 yards per carry. When you are drafting a running back early, you want explosive, you want upside, you want a ton of volume. White's got, some of those parameters, but he just doesn't have that explosiveness that I like, right? Another guy, James Cook, coming off he finished top 12 last year, finished 12th. Everybody's on this James Cook train. But are we not talking about the acquisition of the beast that is Ray Davis? Are we not talking about James Cook only having 2 touchdowns? Are we not talking about Josh Allen rushing for 15? So guys, you got to look at the new scenario. Frank Gore Jr. is there as well. He was unsigned, unsigned free agent that's also going to be on the Buffalo Bills this year. So there's a lot of rushing yards dilution going on there. And I don't think James Cook is that amazing of a running back to begin with. And he's pretty much a top 10, top 12 guy. So there's a lot of guys I'm leaving out. I'm leaving Christian McCaffrey out of this top 10 list. So this is a non-consensus list, by the way. There is some consensus to it, but I left out guys that I think are going to fall off. Now you say, well, Joe, you're wrong about Christian McCaffrey. Well, I was the past couple years, but I'm okay with that because I still ended up getting Brees and Bijan in my leagues, and I'm good, okay? So I'm not really concerned. And he's due for a decline, 28, 29 years old, just got married, coming off a Super Bowl hangover, coming off pretty much 2 pinnacle years. I mean, he's going to make history if he finishes as the number 1 running back again 2 years in a row. I mean, the last time anyone did that was Priest Holmes, 2002, 2003. And Christian McCaffrey only played 10 games in 2020 and 2021. What goes up must come down. So I have so many reasons why I'm fading Christian McCaffrey, and he's very expensive. Give me some of these young, hungry guys. You're getting value later, which we'll talk about. So again, there's certain guys I left out of here, And I'm comfortable with doing that. Even ATN, 3.8 yards per carry. I think Bigsby takes a step up this year in that offense. And again, there's certain running backs I don't believe have the upside as some of the guys in here on this top 10 list. This is the cream of the crop here, guys. I don't mess around, okay? And again, Kyren Williams is on the show, so we'll get to that interview very shortly. You're going to want to tune in. Don't miss anything here. Again, if you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. Let's get to the first running back, okay? And drop any comments below. I want to make this ultra interactive. Comment below, guys. I'm going to try to, get back to as many people as I possibly can. And I'm thinking of actually giving away a free ticket to the Fantasy Sports Summit to the most engaged commenter, the listener that comments the most this week. I'm going to give away a free ticket here on this channel. I'm going to release that on Saturday. Free ticket to the Fantasy Sports Summit to the person that engages the most over this next week in the comments. So I got to see your name a lot in the comments, and I'm going to give away a free ticket to the Fantasy Sports Summit to have a chance to hang out with us, okay? So there's a giveaway right there. It's going to be amazing, okay? So let's go with this, guys. So interact. Number 10. Now, again, this is non-consensus. Just because they're in the top 10 doesn't mean you got to draft them in the first or second round. Number 10 is Tyjae Spears. This is how they're going to finish. I don't do consensus ranking. I just talk about the best of the best at the position, okay? Tyjae Spears was drafted by the Titans to replace the king that is Derrick Henry. Those are big shoes to fill. And even with those big shoes still there in Tennessee last year, Tyjae Spears had 100 attempts, right? Now there's over 280 attempts freed up. Derrick Henry is gone. He is no longer on the Titans. In comes in Tyjae Spears, who's going to be on the show as well. 100 attempts, 453 yards, 4.5 yards per carry last year. Got himself a bunch of receiving yards, 70 targets receiving, 52 receptions, 385 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Tyjae Spears proved he can get it done with the limited volume that he got last year. In comes Pollard, who's going to be paid. Now, I'm not going to discount Pollard getting some work. They obviously paid him. So front office is like, let's get our money's worth. Let's feed this guy. But it's going to be talent prevails. And Pollard is not that talented. He is a failed backup and he is a failed starter. He had no business starting for the Cowboys last year. Absolutely zero zilch, like nothing. He had no business doing it. Yet he did, and he just fumbled his starting job away. He's not a good running back, guys. He's decent, but not good. Tyjae is the man there, okay? And you're getting this guy round 7 to 8, as early as 6 a little bit. Comes off in that 12-person league in a 6 to 7 round turn. I love him, but here's the thing. Between him and the next guy I'm going to talk about, it's going to be a coin toss on who is going to do better, but also who you really want in the draft, because I'm unable to get both of them in drafts. This is very, very hard because they kind of come off at the same ADP unless you reach for one of them, okay? But there's so many other players I like just around before, especially at the wide receiver position. So, again, when I look at this, Tyjae Spears is going to finish top 10. Again, Derrick Henry last year. Where'd Derrick Henry finish? Finished 8th. I don't see why Spears, who's his replacement, doesn't finish in the top 10. Talented, upside, ton of volume. They've added Calvin Ridley to distract the defenses, in the secondary a little bit, open it up for him, more open lanes. They've improved the O-line. Will Levis make or break year. Tyjae Spears is primed for a big year. It's going to be a little bit of a committee, but Tyjae is going to take over and get a ton of volume. Like I said, 100 attempts last year with Henry there. We've got pretty much 300 freed up attempts. He's getting another 150. So we're looking at 250 attempt floor for Tyjae Spears, who's the RB1 on the Titans. And the crazy thing is people are drafting Pollard ahead of Tyjae, which is ludicrous. Tyjae is the alpha on that team, okay? He's going to be on the show. I'm going to tell him that. Second guy, I told this guy as well, he's the RB1 on his team. I think he already knows it, is Trey Benson. And I always see all this James Conner garbage come out, right? Again, you don't have to draft Trey Benson in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth round, where Conner's coming off earlier, man. Conner's coming off a couple rounds earlier. And people thinking Conner is going to duplicate what he did last year. Even last year, he wasn't that good. You say, oh, he's so good, Joe. He had 1,000 yards, his best year ever. It took him 8 years to rush 1,000 yards. Think logically, guys. This guy was a backup to crappy Le'Veon Bell, who was also crappy because he was a product of the offense. And we saw how crappy Le'Veon Bell is because I called that because I know running backs. How do I know running backs? I saw what Le'Veon Bell did. That offense, man, was run through Antonio Brown and Big Ben throwing deep balls, getting a lot of passes and a lot of volume to Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, and Juju, whoever's on that team that year, whatever. They had a ton of great receivers, Antonio Brown being one, drawing the double coverage, open lanes all day for Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell was a product of that offense. He went on the Jets, and he sucked. I told you, don't draft Le'Veon Bell round 1. But years ago, everybody's drafting Le'Veon Bell round 1 when he went to the Jets. I go, don't do it, right? I got magazines over there on my shelf with Le'Veon Bell on the cover. And I'm like, dude, Le'Veon Bell's not that good. And Connor was his backup, okay? He had the starting job last year. Even with the starting job, 208 attempts, finished 18th. 18th without Trey Benson there. Now you've got Trey Benson, who was a 3rd-round pick, who was on the show. Go back and watch the episode with me and Trey Benson. This guy is focused. He's honed in, ran a 4.39. He is ultra elite talent and should have been drafted in the 2nd round. But it seems like running backs are getting devalued in fantasy football, in reality drafts, and also in this case, fantasy football drafts. So we got a round 3 pick in Trey Benson. We got Connor, who took him 7-8 years to get 1,000 yards rushing. Mind you, at 5 yards per carry. Some people are all on top of this. But again, he always misses games as well. He's always missing time. But even if he doesn't miss time, Trey Benson is the starter, okay? He's going to finish top 10. He's got that. Again, Connor's got to just kind of go away from the situation, really. But if the hot hand will prevail, and more you're going to find out in training camp that they want to win. And if you want to win, you got to play the best running back, which is Trey Benson. He's got top 10 upside written all over him. Love this guy. This guy's league winner upside, okay? Again, you don't have to draft him as a top 10 running back. Remember, draft him maybe a round ahead of his ADP. You're going to get him. You've got yourself a top 10 finisher potentially, okay? Number 8 here is Zamir White. Absolutely love him. Let's talk about why I love Zamir White, why he's in the top 10. He's not in the top 10 any list. He's like RB 22, 23. Let's talk about it. It's all about opportunity. Opportunity is what fantasy football is all about. The opportunity, of course, talent, right? It's a combination of a lot of things. But last year, you got to take a look. 230 plus attempts to Josh Jacobs. He's no longer there. They tested the waters. They dipped their toes in the waters, the Raiders did. And they let this guy run wild at the end of the season. 22 rushing attempts and 145 yards on the ground week 16. Okay? 20 attempts week 17 and 25 attempts week 18. And week 18, he also had another 100-yard rushing game with 112. Zamir White is absolutely primed. And you can get him round 5 to 6, and you're getting yourself an RB1. No questions asked. Zero competition, similar to Pollard, who sucks, similar to Connor, who's had years to wow me, and I'm not wowed. Even when he was on his own last year, didn't wow us. Finally got himself 1,000 yards. Took him every ounce of his body to have his last hurrah to get his 1,000-yard season. Sucks. And now you've got Madison, the backup to Zamir White, who absolutely sucks more than Pollard and Connor. This guy is not only a failed backup, should have never been a starter last year. What do you have, 0 touchdowns as a starter? 3 yards per carry? I don't know what he had. It was terrible. Madison is there as a depth piece, okay? Now, at the time of this recording, where are we? Late July, there was talk about maybe acquiring a free agent. I don't know who's out there now, Dalvin Cook or something like that. Could that buzz kill Zamir White? A little bit. Maybe you're going to lose 100 rushing attempts, if that. But the way that it sits at the time of this recording with Madison as his backup, man, oh man, do they believe in Zamir White. I've been watching some videos, man. This guy is bulked up. He's ready to rock. He looks good. Oh, dude, I'm excited. 104 attempts last year, 451 yards, only 1 touchdown, I believe. But again, really, really shined at the end of the season when Jacobs was shipped off, and they believe in him. And he came out of this NFL draft untouched. They didn't bring in a rookie that's going to dip into his volume. He's still the man there. His job to lose, which he won't, okay? He's number 8. Coming at number 7 here. This one, I have question marks, and I've got 0 stock of this guy in my drafts, honestly, is Jonathan Taylor, okay? The good news about him is a couple things, all right? When you look at any type of player in fantasy football, a big secret for me is trends. You got to look at, is he trending downwards, or is he trending upwards, okay? This year, he's got to be trending upwards. There's really no way but up for Jonathan Taylor. 11 games only played in 2022, only played 10 games in 2023. His best season was 2021, where he had the 332 attempts. Everybody remembers 1,811 yards. If you don't remember, 18 touchdowns. Beast mode 2021. So it's been years, man, since he's, years to wow me. And lately you have not wowed me, dude. So the good news is he's got Evan Hall, who was, I think, banged up last year anyway. Like, that's his backup. Like, there's literally nobody there. Obviously, we got some concerns with Anthony Richardson running the ball. We saw a small sample size that keep going to this, where he rushed 4 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. So Richardson is going to be a goal line vulture. There's zero doubt about it. But the plus side is Jonathan Taylor swinging upwards in regards to, upside, right? He's swinging upwards into a bounce back type year. And also, he's got nobody else in that committee. So Jonathan Taylor is in a good position to succeed. But I mean, Jim and I have talked with Jim on the show, and it's like you're drafting him at his peak. You're drafting him. You're paying a premium for him, assuming that everything's going to work out the way it was. I don't know, man. Again, he's already signed a big contract. He's got paid and stuff like that. So it's like, is he as hungry as he was in 2021? The past couple of years have shown he's not. So again, out of this list, he's probably one of the least exciting, but I definitely see some ceiling there and some upside and a ton of volume going his way. So Taylor had to just be here at number 7, just based on his talent, and he's got to bounce back. Okay. Number 6 here. He's on the show. Number 6 is Kyren Williams. I want to talk about him before we get to the interview. This is very important. Don't skip this part here. Okay. Kyren Williams, 228 attempts, 1,144 yards, 5.0 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns in only 12 games. And you're going to see in the interview right now, I asked him about his health. So why don't we just go right to him and ask him? But I will tell you, this guy finished 7th last year. Blake Corum was drafted in the 3rd round. I didn't end up drafting him because of my earlier rounds. I drafted it in June in my 2K buying league. I didn't draft him. A big part of it is I just think that because Blake Corum was a workhorse, that he's going to really dip in. He just might be a depth piece. It might turn out that he may just be a depth piece after talking to Kyren Williams, but it's up to you guys to make that decision after this conversation. The way that I mean, he's got a really nice guy, really good energy, as you're going to see here, but what you're going to see as well is that he does have a lion mentality, and he seems pretty confident that he's going to pick up where he left off and improve based on last year, and he is the workhorse. That's the feeling I got from this conversation. I'm reading between the lines, right? Because, again, they're not going to come out and say, I'm going to smash my backup. Like, they don't say that. Like, I don't expect them to say that, right? They're teammates. At the end of the day, they all want to win, right? They want to win. They want to win the Super Bowl. They want to work together as a team. Nobody's bashing anybody, but the feeling I got from him is that he's very, very confident. So it's up to you guys to make a decision. So Kyren Williams on the show. Love the guy. Super nice guy. He's going to be at the Fantasy Sports Summit as well. Grab your ticket below. Let's get to this video. Kyren Williams on the show, coming in at number 6, running back this year. Tons of upside. Crushed it last year in only 12 games. Still finished 7th. He's ready. He's hungry. Let's roll to this interview. Guys, enjoy the interview. Grab a coffee or a beverage of your choice, and let's enjoy this interview. Kyren Williams, everybody, let's roll it. All right, what would a top 10 episode be without actually having a top 10 running back on the show? And we've got fantasy royalty in the house. Kyren Williams, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, Joe. Excited to be on here.
I appreciate it, and I love your energy. We talked a few minutes before you coming on, man. I got a couple great questions for you. I want to get right to it, but the first question is really, how have you embraced fantasy football royalty? Because, again, you're a little off the grid. 5th round pick in 2022. Nothing really happened in the rookie season. And then you went from kind of being unknown in fantasy to top of fantasy. It was how have you embraced it? Because it's a lot, man. It's a lot to take on, probably on Twitter, on social media. How have you embraced the fantasy community? More importantly, how has the community embraced you, really? Both ways.
Yeah, I think they've definitely embraced me well. They love me. They love everything that I've done, everything that I've been able to produce since coming off the waivers. That's all I hear is, "You won me my championship. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I picked you off of the waivers." And I've been telling them, man, you should have been got me. But it's all right now. Now they know. But no, the way I've addressed the fantasy football is, like you said, early on in my career, it wasn't really much fantasy football at all. There wasn't anybody talking about fantasy football at all until last year. And I remember, oh my goodness, fantasy football is actually a thing. I forgot that it actually exists. And so now I embraced it. It's awesome being able to hear everybody talk about how I'm winning them championships, how I'm winning them prizes, and just talk about how I'll get different cameos about asking just draft orders. Like that's cool too, being a part of people's draft orders and allowing them to just be, find that way to allow them to win championships.
I love how you embraced it. There's a lot of players that are kind of, I don't care about your teams. But again, you probably know this, but a lot of players aren't aware of this. Your fantasy points are directly proportional in line with your reality. So when you have a game where you have 2 touchdowns, that's good for reality and good for fantasy. I guess where the problem comes in is a lot of people end up trolling a lot. They're like, hey, you
Yeah.
suck. I'm known for that. You guys suck this week, but I won't do it to you. But sometimes I'm known to do that. And a lot of people do that on Twitter as well. So I'm glad that you've embraced it. Hopefully you don't take anything personally. It's just our fantasy teams, our livelihoods, our fantasy championships. No pressure at all, So I got some important questions here. So that was the first one here. Now, what I love about you, I'm not just trying to kiss butt here. I really genuinely love this about you because I've been the underdog my life as well. And I'm trailblazing, and I know you're trailblazing as well. You were a 5th round pick. And to be quite honest with you, it's like, a lot of people, it feels like, a 5th round guy, it's just kind of slept on. It's like, that guy's not going to do anything. He's not going to amount to anything. I mean, what's the thought process, being drafted 5th, knowing, because now we know. And a lot of people, it's unfortunate, a lot of running backs are kind of buried on depth chart. They never get that chance. What was your thought process, knowing how good you actually are? Knowing that you didn't really get the chance, and what was it like? I got to get my chance. Was it kind of like I got to get out there? Were you like itching to get out there? What's the thought process being drafted in the 5th, knowing your talent?
It's like you said, like it doesn't matter where you go. It's knowing the belief and the confidence that you have in yourself. So like you said, I knew I could play football. I knew I was ready to play in the NFL. It's just whatever those teams decided for me to go, that's where it was going to happen. And I can't control that. And so coming to the Los Angeles Rams, my mindset would have been the same if I would have drafted to any other team. I want to take over that running back spot. I want to be the running back starter. I want to be the guy that the coaches come to and say, I need you for this play. I need you right here. So that's always been my mentality. No matter where I was drafted, I was going to go make my mark anywhere.
No, I love it, man. I was watching tape on you just before this, and I mean, your vision's amazing. You got a nose for the end zone, and the ability to extend plays after you catch the ball out of the backfield. It's pretty remarkable. I just want to know kind of your mentality when you're on the field. I was talking about Trey Benson, with this as well. I mean, what are you thinking? You run hard, you run strong. Is your mentality like, I got to take down the other guys? Is it a battle against yourself? Is it an inner game, or is it like, I got to take out the opponent and when you run angry? What is kind of just going through your brain when you're running amazing like that?
Man, I want to take it back to like, it's the survival of the fittest, honestly. Like, are you willing to go the extra length? Are you willing to go the extra mile? And I'm willing to do that. And so it's really depending on what the defense wants to do. If you want to fold and bend over, then that's on y'all. But I'm not gonna stop. I'm always I'm gonna stop until the fat lady sings. So that's when I'm gonna stop. So it's just the mindset of I'm gonna be better than you every single time.
I love it. I love your mentality. Now I want to draft you more. I love your energy too. Energy is a huge thing. Love your energy, man. That's huge. Some more important questions here. You hit such an amazing mark. I mean, 12 games, over 1,144 yards, 12 touchdowns, 15 all-purpose. That's pretty phenomenal in only playing 12 games. What are your expectations for this year? You hit such a high. I mean, it's so hard not hard. I don't want to say the word hard. I don't want to limit ourselves here, right? But you hit such a pinnacle. Is your mind like, I got to beat that? Like, what's kind of the thought process here? How are you going to improve this year? And have you done anything in regards physically to kind of and mentally to improve and expand on what you did last year?
To me, for real, this year is just building off what I did last year. I don't really got to do too much. I know how to play the game of football. I've been playing since I was in the 2nd grade. God blessed me with this blessing, this gift to go able to do what I'm doing right now. And so I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I really my focus this year is becoming an all-around leader. Being a guy who that players come to talk to about anything, about football, about life, about anything. I want to be that person that that's in the locker room that is willing to go, like I said, the extra mile for everybody, and the leader that showing an example of whether that's verbally or if that's just showing by actions. That's what I want to be, man. I want to be a leader, dog. I want to be a captain. I want to be somebody that these people that play ball on the Rams, players on the Rams, that they look up to me.
Important question here. Is any advice for players, particularly running backs, that get drafted later in draft or are buried in depth charts and know they have the talent like yourself? Is there any advice for some young guys coming out this year in regards to kind of how to handle the NFL based on basically if they were drafted lower than they should have been? Any advice to those guys?
Yeah, don't put no no limit or no cap or anything that you can do. You know, what I mean, you know what you can do. You know your capabilities. Don't let somebody who met you just yesterday tell you what you can do and what you can't do. You know, this is your script. Write it how you want it to be written, and continue to work hard, man. You know, no matter where you drafted, the fifth round, the first round, everybody still got to get a job. They still got to make their job. They still got to perform, no matter what it is. So, do that and do it to the fullest, and you won't have any regrets.
Definitely. I don't know if you can answer this, but is there any running backs or if you've done any research on any rookies that are standing out to you? Now, I'm a big Trey Benson fan, loved what he did, loved his combine. There's even your counterpart there in the committee, Blake Corum, looks great on paper. Who is there? Other guys. Marshawn Lloyd looks great as well. Did my research on rookies. Is there any rookies that kind of caught your eye this year that are kind of like really jumping out at you? Say, man, that guy looks really good. He might do some special things in the NFL.
I think they all possess their own, talents in their own way. I remember watching Trey play in college. He was really good. We actually played against him my junior year. He was
Yeah.
really good in college. Like you said, Marshawn Lloyd from USC, really good in college. Blake as well, really good. So I'm just excited to see what these guys bring to the NFL because it's the same game. It's the same game they've been playing since, like I said, in second grade or ever when they started. So I'm super excited to see what they do. And like I said, it's always a good thing when running backs eat.
What do you do in your spare time? Got some fun questions here. What do you do in your spare time? Video games, anything like that?
Take care of my dog. I like to golf. Getting into cooking. I'm trying to, get on the grill. I'm trying to get in the kitchen so I can be all around person, not just a football player, but I can do everything. I like to read a little bit. I like to get outside. Honestly, I like to just be outside, not in the house. I like to see what the world has to offer.
You're cooking up fantasy points, that's for sure. All right, a couple rapid fire questions. A couple from I put a story mode on. Ask some questions from the listeners here. One of them is, should we draft you? That's straight from a fantasy football fan. Should we draft you, Kyren Williams, for 2024?
Is the elephant heavy?
Absolutely.
Duh. Draft
Absolutely.
me. Draft me.
I love the confidence, man. That is absolutely huge. LeBron or Jordan? That's another rapid fire question.
LeBron.
Really? Because you're younger, man.
I'm a young
Jordan-
guy. I'm a young guy. You feel me? I gotta give it to LeBron, man.
I'm a big time Jordan fan. I grew up with them. That mentality is second to none. Maybe Kobe. You could say Kobe. Maybe
Yeah, Kobe. I like Kobe. I like Kobe too. I like Kobe a lot.
that's the mentality. Greatest. This is a tough. Maybe it's a tough question. Greatest running back all time. I'm really curious your thoughts on. This is a tough one. I hope maybe you have the answer. I don't know.
I'd say the greatest running back of all time is Barry Sanders.
Okay.
But my GOAT growing up as a running back position was probably LaDainian Tomlinson or Steven Jackson.
Okay. I'm an
Just
MX.
because that's the guys who I watched. I didn't get to see Barry Sanders play. I only get to watch the documentaries that he has out now. I didn't get to watch Emmitt Smith play. I know a lot about him, but I can't call him my GOAT if I didn't watch him play.
Yeah.
I'll go up watching him.
The crazy thing is, I could be talking to the greatest of all time right here. Just keep going. I mean, if
I'm working for that. I am literally working for that.
I love the mentality, man. I mean, the only thing that was kind of hindering me from me this year, I like the value of you last year. Now everybody's on it. That's the thing with me, right? I like to get running backs that are being slept on, like the guys that are butting up. Now I got to pay so much for you, which again, I don't mind doing, but I just liked you when you were a value. I hate it when, like, for example, Sam Laporta, I told everybody to draft Sam Laporta last year when everybody was sleeping on him. I'm like, dude, great position. He's going to get a ton of work at tight end. Draft him. Now everybody's drafting Sam Laporta round 2.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with me, man. I kind of like the stock when it's a little bit low instead of overpaying. But man, after this conversation, I like you more and more. To be honest.
I'm glad to hear that.
I know you might not be able to answer this in regards to depth chart. I mean, is there anything in regards to volume distribution? Have they told you? Because I heard this is actually pretty public that you're going to be catching the ball in the backfield. Is there any inkling in regards to how much volume you're going to get? Do you have an idea? Is it kind of expect the same thing last year, or do you have any idea on what to expect from you this year in regards to volume?
I mean, I don't really like to talk on what I don't know. Coach McVay has not had a conversation with me about anything about playing wise, but I don't expect anything to change. I expect Blake and I to be a great duo, allow us to be able to complement off each other, even if that's Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans. We got 4 running backs who are capable of playing football, and I'm excited to see what we can do. And however the chips may fall, they fall. But we're gonna work, and we're gonna make sure that we get that work done.
Perfect, because there's a good thing going on right now in not for fantasy guys, but for reality in regards to Detroit with the Montgomery Gibbs connection. And Gibbs did phenomenal, even with Montgomery having over 200 attempts and 13 touchdowns, and Gibbs still finishes a top 10 fantasy running back. So if you're a good man, you're going to get on the field, which you are, and I'm excited. Last question here, real quick. Your health, because some people as fantasy heads were shallow. That, oh, that guy got hurt. He only played 12 games. I don't know what he's going to do this year. How you feeling physically? Just want to kind of get a feel for you
I'm
right
great.
now.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm good. Keyed in on the off season, really getting my body right. I wasn't really working much. I wasn't really grounded and pounding on my feet and on my legs and all that stuff. I was really focused on just making sure my body is symmetrical. The right side is firing like the left side. The top is like the bottom. I'm trying to make sure everything is aligned so that I can go do what I do. Because once I feel good, I can play good.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this football game. So that's just what I do. So I'm not concerned about being injured. I don't really think about that. I'm thinking about going win the Super Bowl this year,
Exactly.
playing 21 games.
Exactly. And I ended on a positive note here. Just the last thing. I saw some of your training videos as of late. You absolutely look like a beast out there, man. Looking very impressive, very quick,
Appreciate that.
very strong. Knock on wood, man. God bless. Hopefully everything goes really well for you. I'm really excited that you're part of this and you accepted the invitation to come to the Fantasy Sports Summit. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the fantasy community. And I think a lot of people appreciate that because I know talking to a lot of listeners, my DM's inundated and, talking to thousands and thousands of people, everybody appreciates the running backs that appreciate us because we're a big part of your success. I mean, we're out there cheering for you. We're your biggest cheerleader.
Right.
We appreciate that you guys are embracing us. And I think a lot of people will get that vibe from listening to this interview. A lot of people are already saying, man, we like Trey Benson. We're going to draft him after that interview. And I think they're going to get the same. More people are going to come on to the Kyren train, including myself. I ended up fading you in a couple drafts. It's nothing personal. It's just that I was missing out on you and I ended up getting
Yeah.
Saquon fell to me and, stuff like that. So,
Hey, look, I'm used to it, man. You ain't gotta say nothing else. I already know. People are gonna
yeah.
sleep, they're gonna sleep, but I'm gonna rest my job to wake y'all up. So that's what I'm doing. So y'all pick whoever y'all want to pick. I'm gonna tell you you're wrong though.
I love the mentality, man. I got to go back and do another draft to get you first overall. That's
I'm
simple.
trying to tell you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell these people.
All right, Kyren, I appreciate this. This means a lot, man. You guys can see him at the Fantasy Sports Summit. Super excited. August 21st, 7:30. Grab your tickets below. Kyren, man, absolute pleasure. Better than I expected. I thought it'd be a great conversation, but your energy was, amazing. So thank you, man, for being
Thank
on.
you. Appreciate you for having me, man. Have a good day, Joe. I can't wait to see y'all at the summit, August 21st. Be ready. Be there or be square.
It's going to be big, guys. We'll talk soon. We're out. Well, there you have it, man. Don't you guys agree? Super nice guy. Like I was telling you, man, energy's high. Super nice guy, and he is ready to crush this year. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. And again, I'm really trying to step it up for you guys, giving you as much value and excitement this year. So you guys not only are completely dominating your leagues, but also immersed with, fantasy meets reality and that. So make sure you guys do grab a ticket to the summit. He will be there. Again, I'm super excited and you get a chance to ask him questions. So it's going to be a live podcast essentially. And there's going to be questions and we're going to go through creative questions that are going to get answered. And you're also entered to win a PS5, guys. Everybody that gets a ticket, right, is going to be entered for a PS5 giveaway. So guys, make sure you guys grab your ticket, Fantasy Sports Summit, and grab the 16-round draft solution, okay? Kyren Williams, thank you for coming on the show, man. Amazing interview. He was number 6. Let's go to number 5 here is Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, let's have this discussion. This discussion needs to be had about Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, his high draft capital, what we think, okay? Last year, if you're in a dynasty league, I told you draft Jahmyr Gibbs. Everybody was kind of, it wasn't just slept on as certain other guys like Sam Laporta's of the world, but he was kind of slept on. Now more people are on him. He's, because they saw how amazing he is. So let's talk about him. 182 attempts last year, just under 1,000 yards with 945, 5.2 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, 242 fantasy points. Now I did some math, okay? 207 points David Montgomery got last year, right? If 150 out of the 207 or whatever fantasy points that Montgomery did, let's just say we took away 150 and we transferred those over to Gibbs. Gibbs beats CMC and becomes the number 1 running back in fantasy football. So it's just a shift. It's a slight shift in fantasy points. And it's just little things like goal line work that Montgomery stole. 13 goal line touchdowns, right? 1,000 yards rushing, 219 attempts wasted on David Montgomery, right? And the thing about it is this, man, this is what upsets me. Now, again, Jahmyr Gibbs finished 10th last year. He still got that top 10 upside. The problem I have is it's my ego. I have an ego issue with Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, mind you, I got him in this fishbowl that I'm in with all the industry experts. Anyway, so I got him as my RB3 because what ends up happening is I ended up drafting. I got because it's a super flex league. So I just say, screw the quarterbacks. I mean, I'm just going to get all the workhorse running backs. I can still get value at quarterbacks later. Kirk Cousins is my starter. Not the greatest, but don't worry. My team is stacked once you hear my 3 running backs. So I went Bijan, right? And people are like, why are you pronouncing it Bijan? Because that's how you pronounce it. B-I as in bi-weekly and ran as in Jan as in tan, not B-E-E-J-H-O-N. Anyway, for all you guys that are new to the channel, that's my thought process. I pronounce it exactly how I want to. I don't follow the herd. If something is wrong, I say that's wrong. I don't agree with it. It is what it is. So I drafted Bijan. I got him. I think I went at the 11th or 12th. I went, I think, 10th spot. So I got Bijan, came back around, got Saquon, who's also in this top 10 list. We'll get to in a second. And then what it does is it kind of reverses the draft order. So instead of snaking back, right, and then it's a 301 this way, right? You know how you go 12 and I get, you get 12 and 13, right? It kind of just swings back around. So the people that went at the end get that 3rd round pick. You know what I'm saying? It kind of flips the draft order. So what I ended up doing is I got Jahmyr Gibbs in round 3 in this super flex league. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys some context on that. I like him as my RB3 major upside, but again, the big thing for my ego is, you guys are drafting him in a 1 quarterback league round 1, end of round 1. Unless I stack him with a Saquon, I don't feel as warm and fuzzy, or like a Henry or something like that. Because what ends up happening, guys, is this. Week 1 starts, you're excited, you're pumped up, you're like, man, I can't wait. I literally cannot wait to start Jahmyr Gibbs. And then the first drive of the Detroit Lions, they come out and you see Montgomery's jersey. That to me is it burns my heart. It's like a stinger, man. It's like I can't deal with that type of stuff because I saw it last year. I saw how good Jahmyr Gibbs was. I mean, that guy exploded onto the scene big time. As soon as Montgomery was hurt, he was getting all the volume, crushing a top fantasy running back, and then Montgomery comes back and really just destroys the buzz that is Jahmyr Gibbs. So I still like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he gets more volume this year. I just think Montgomery's going to be a pest. I think Montgomery's going to go down this year a little more seriously than last year, but we can't just bank a 1st-round pick predicated on this guy's going to go down. To some degree. I mean, I do it with CMC. I think he's going to go down because he's on borrowed time when it comes to fantasy football injury because we've seen he's injury prone in the past. But when it comes to Montgomery going down, who's also injury prone, similar to James Conner, with a guy like Trey Benson, you're in the same situation theoretically, right? But you're getting Trey Benson round 8, where again, the only difference is you haven't seen Trey Benson. And again, Jahmyr Gibbs could be way more explosive than Trey Benson, blah, blah, blah. We've seen Jahmyr Gibbs, but at the end of the day, man, Jahmyr Gibbs still has that top 10 potential. I got to put him in here, assuming David Montgomery gets hurt, he finishes top 5, okay? I love him. I mean, I love the talent. I'm a Jahmyr Gibbs ambassador. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, running back in the game, but just give him the volume. And that's the thing. It's like Montgomery's just destroying my buzz, okay? Number 4, this guy finished 8th last year, is Derrick Henry. 0 competition there. They got Keaton Mitchell, who's ultra explosive, but he was dealing with an injury. He should be back kind of I think mid-season. I could be wrong on this injury timeline. But listen, Derrick Henry gets an upgrade in an explosive offense. He's older, and you're saying, well, Joe, he's older. Christian McCaffrey's old, a little younger. Derrick Henry's just an animal. He's a beast, man. This guy is just a special talent. And I just watched a training video on him. He's got all the chains on. He's doing a lot of weight, and he's looking amazing at the gym. He's a special talent, man. And CMC, again, those 2 years with the 10 games in those 2 years in 2020, 2021, I don't like him in 2024. I don't. Where Derrick Henry, he gets an explosive offense, 0 running back committee. You got Lamar Jackson, which again, a couple of my rules, I'm kind of breaking my rules when it comes to Derrick Henry, is that I don't like to cross the streams, old running back, new team. And I also don't like to draft a running back that's in a committee where the quarterback is putting up top 10 running back numbers. So that's a big issue for me when it comes to a guy like Derrick Henry. But it's Derrick Henry, 280 attempts last year, 4.2 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. He's going to get all the goal line work. Well, I mean, aside from Lamar getting some of that, but it's Derrick Henry, man. I mean, and again, you don't have to spend a 1st-round pick on him. You get him as your RB2 maybe, RB3 if he falls to the 3rd round. He's typically coming off round 2 now. But man, oh man, He's primed for one more last hurrah. Let's put it this way. This is probably the last year I'm drafting Derrick Henry, man. This is it. This is it, man. I'm going all in, and I think he's going to have a good season, okay? Barring any type of injury. The final three here, guys, okay? Before I do, again, make sure you guys grab the 16-round draft solution. Grab a ticket to the summit. Guys, no one's ever offered this in the fantasy community. Go do that right now. Okay, I've linked it below. thefantasyfootballcounselor.com if you're in the car. And I'm also offering direct coaching this year. You can book your time below. Let's jump on a phone call, get all your questions answered. Direct coaching right down below, guys. That's going to book fast, so make sure you guys do secure your spot, okay? Number 3 here is Saquon Barkley. All right, had a mediocre year at best last year, 3.9 yards per carry. Listen, this guy wanted to get out of New York. He was done with New York. He had made up his mind. New York was done. So at the end of the day, man, it's like he was disgruntled, just kind of annoyed. So he's like, I'm done. Now, the last time he had a good year was 2018, where he had this monster 1,300-yard rushing season. What do you have? 5.5 yards per carry, 91 receptions. It was a good year, 260-plus attempts. 2018 was a good year for Saquon Barkley. So again, we talked about Taylor kind of being down. He's going to come up. And what's really kind of a point of reference here for Saquon for me is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift sucks, right? Years to wild were not wild. Couldn't finish the season. Actually finished the season last year with the Eagles. I mean, we got Saquon behind one of the best O-lines in the NFL. Obviously, Jason Kelce's gone. They've made some improvements, shifted some stuff around. They're going to be good, right? And we know that Jalen Hurts gets those rushing touchdowns, but him and Allen are both going to see a regression in rushing touchdowns. That's why they brought in Ray Davis from Buffalo. That's why they brought in Saquon Barkley. They want to take a little bit of pressure off these quarterbacks near the goal line, minimizing injuries, stuff like that. You know, you don't want to be jumping into a pile of like 300-pound dudes. And, you know, it's just, you know, that's your quarterback, man. That's your franchise guy. You want to preserve guys as much as possible, like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. And you're doing that by running guys like Saquon Barkley and like some of these rookie running backs like Ray Davis and maybe even Frank Gore Jr. So, guys, at the end of the day, man, Saquon is absolutely primed to have a good season. He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder as well, leaving that New York fan base, and then, you know, going to hear the rival that is the Eagles, and he got a lot of backlash for that. So he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and I'm expecting good things out of him. Still an explosive running back, and this is his time to shine. We're going to actually see what Saquon Barkley is all about this year with the Eagles, okay? Final two. Again, book your direct coaching call below, guys. I'm going to answer all your questions. Linked it below, or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com under direct coaching and grab 16 rounds. Breece Hall here, guys. Okay, this is very, very important, is my number 2. Now, we're going to have a talk here between him and number 1. Once I get to number 1, we'll talk about kind of who I like more. Now, obviously, kind of the answer is here because I got Breece at 2 and the next guy at 1. But Breece Hall last year, 4.5 yards per carry, 223 attempts, just under 1,000 yards. This guy has not even scratched the surface. Bad quarterback play last year. Everything's going to improve on this offense. You know, as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy and can run this offense efficiently, Breece Hall is going to eat. There is a slight concern of Braylon Allen getting some work. Some people comparing him to A.J. Dillon. I mean, that's just being rude, man. I mean, A.J. Dillon's just not good. Braylon Allen, I think, could be a lot better. So when I look at a guy like Breece Hall, we don't know in regards to like volume distribution. I would just assume that Breece is the beast and he's going to get 250 attempts. I think it might be an 90-10, 80-20 split, just gut feeling, but you never know what Braylon Allen can offer. Braylon can come out and just have an explosive run, and they're like, this guy is good. Maybe we should make this a David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs situation where you never know. Or maybe Braylon Allen gets the goal line work. We don't know. But if these guys want to win, it looks like the Jets do want to win. They're going to play their best player, which is Breece Hall. So, you know, aside from the whole Braylon Allen, you know, concern, which isn't really much of a concern, but something just to keep in the back of your mind is kind of a seed. And then also his past injuries. Other than that, man, like the sky is the limit. Like everything on paper is stating that this guy is going to crush it. Like the talent is there. The explosive is there. 2 years removed from his knee injury, from his rookie year. Like this is it. This is it, Breece Hall. You got to do it this year. And we're going to see what you're all about. Okay. So Breece Hall, man, hungry, young, dynamic, explosive, man. Oh man. I mean, this guy's probably got the highest ceiling. Okay. And number 1 is Bijan Robinson, all right? 214 attempts last year, 976 yards, 4 touchdowns, 58 receptions, 22-year-old Bijan Robinson. Every time he touched the ball, it looked like a highlight reel, man. This guy, vision is second to none. Strength is solid, nose for the end zone. I mean, man, elusiveness, agility. Man, oh man. I mean, Byjan's got it all. I love this guy. I got him as my number one when I'm faced with a decision. Now, ironically, I never ended up drafting first overall in all my leagues. I did a bunch of, done like 4 or 5 drafts, high stakes leagues. I always got eighth and after. I was very fortunate to get him in 2 of my leagues, especially my 2K buy-in league and that fishbowl league with the experts. I'm very fortunate to have got him. So, I'm really excited for him. If I was torn between a decision and I was, drafting, let's say 5th and like Breece is on the clock and Byjan's there and I got to make a decision, I'd probably lean Byjan. Again, the big reason for that, because always reasoning for what I do, is because he was really, really held back. I know that Breece Hall was held back last year, but I don't think he was as held back. I think he was more or less just kind of eased in. Breece Hall was, because of that injury, coming back in, healing up. They had Dalvin Cook there, who was held back to 67 attempts. So Breece was kind of unleashed for the most part, right? Because if he wasn't, Dalvin Cook would have dipped into more of the volume. I think the biggest issue with Breece was just a bad offense, bad quarterback play, which kind of hindered him. So again, I'm not taking anything away from Breece, but I think there was more of a hindrance with Byjan simply because Arthur Smith would just pull him out all the time. 186 attempts. So we're talking about a team that rushes the ball a lot. We're wasted on Algier, and Byjan still ended up finishing 9th amongst running backs. That's phenomenal. 58 receptions, right? His touchdowns were low. I'd like to get that up, right? 4 touchdowns. So I'm just seeing a little bit, possibly a little bit more ceiling for Byjan just because I think he was held back more. I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but I don't think you go wrong with either one of these guys. Hopefully they stay healthy, barring any injury. I think both these guys are going to be amazing. I think Kyren Williams is amazing, but the problem is like, again, you've got Blake Corum, who's a workhorse in college. You got Jahmyr Gibbs dealing with Montgomery. We got Algier, who I think is just going to be a backup. We know how big that gap is. So here's a fantasy football draft tip and fantasy football draft advice when you are looking at running backs, is that literally, guys, take a look at that gap in between talent difference. So I see a major gap in regards to talent between Byjan and Algier. We don't know exactly how big the gap is between Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. I would just assume the gap is huge, but I don't know, man. Braylon Allen, look at some highlight reels. He looked pretty good in college, right? We know the gap with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. The problem is, I think the gap is pretty big in favor of Jahmyr Gibbs, yet they still don't want to bench Montgomery. They're riding him. I don't know, maybe it's a preservation of Jahmyr Gibbs, whatever. And another thing, we don't know how big of the gap is between Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. Blake Corum, man, he looked really good in college, workhorse type volume. So again, we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So all we could do is, again, add depth at this position. Make sure you have a backup plan for a backup plan. You got a couple of value guys in Trey Benson and Tajay. You get later as like Trey Benson's my RB 4-5 in my leagues with top 10 upside. Tajay Spears, same type thing, right? So you got to make sure you don't skimp out on these running backs. Again, I was listening to this one podcast. I won't say which one. It was a super flex. He was talking. He's like, dude, like I went like 5 wide receivers and my 2 quarterbacks. And then I looked at running back. His starting running back was Raheem Mostert. I don't get it, man. I don't see the thought process behind that. Raheem Mostert finished top 10 last year, very touchdown heavy, but he's definitely seeing a regression this year. I still don't think Devin Achane is worth a top 10 pick either. I think that's just crazy as well. He does have that explosiveness, 7.8 yards per carry in the limited time we saw Achane play. They drafted a running back as well, who's a speedster, in Jalen Wright. So there's so much going on, guys, with these committees, and a lot of them are going to fizzle out and trying to, settle in. So you want to get ones that are already kind of settled in, and that's these guys in the top 10 for the most part. With Jahmyr Gibbs, you're getting Montgomery. That's the package that you're signing up for, and that's kind of why I've avoided him in round 1. Okay, guys? Man, that's a lot of talking. Dude, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was exciting. And again, thanks for Kyren Williams for being on the show. Grab your ticket to the summit to have a chance to win a PS5. Everyone that gets tickets, enter for a PS5 giveaway. And of course, a chance to hang out with these guys live on the podcast is going to be amazing. All right, guys? Fantasy Football 2024 is back. Smash it, tap it, slap it. I'll see you guys next video, and grab 16 rounds and drop a comment below. What do you think of the list? Could these guys actually finish top 10? Am I crazy with the Trey Benson edition? I thought that was pretty wild. What are your thoughts? Thank you guys for being here. Lion mentality. Smash it, tap it, slap it. I'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you in the comments. I'm out.